Well, hi guys. Welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Are you a Who Dat fan? If you're a Who Dat fan, subscribe to my channel. I love the Saints as much as you do. Think of me as a friend or a coworker, a fan, a family member of the Who Dat Nation. I'm going to let you know what I'm thinking. You let me know what you think in the comments. I respond to my comments, unlike most Saints providers. So, what have I been doing on my channel lately? It's the off season. We've been talking about everything off season. So, we've been breaking down the draft, looking at hundreds of prospects. I'm starting to think about free agency coming up. What are some of the moves the Saints could make? And once free agency is done and we've spent a lot of money in free agency, which I think we should do, then, your goals in the draft become clearer. Every time I do a mock draft, I'm tempted to draft a guard because we don't have a guard because we haven't addressed it in free agency yet. Stuff like that. So I decided to think about the whole off season and do a video. What could the perfect off season for the New Orleans Saints look like? And I don't think there's a definite scenario that would describe a perfect offseason. But let's take a shot at the entire offseason and see what we come up with. That's my goal. I decided, well, every time I do a mock, I don't know. I don't know if we got the guy in free agency we needed, so we can skip this position of need or what. So I decided let's just do the whole dang off season. So let's see. And you guys let me know what you think. All right, for starters, usually the Saints are 70 million over the cap to start every season. We have to restructure contracts, extensions, whatever we have to do to find the money. We end up clearing typically about $100 million because we have to get cap compliant, which costs us about 70 million. And then we usually have between 20 and 30 million to go play in free agency. It's typically what we spend every year. That's kind of like what it feels like to me. So, in order to have $30 million to spend for the Saints, you have to clear 100 million, and that's not the case this year. Depending on which site you look at, and depending on what the final salary cap for the year is going to be, Uh, the Saints are somewhere between 9 million and 20 million over the cap. So I'm going to say 10 million. Let's just say 10 million. I'm sure that salary cap's going to be at the high end, and well, that's a far cry from 70 million. 10 million to clear. I mean, if we're used to clearing 100 million just to have 30 million to play with, what happens if we restructure contracts and extensions and everything else to clear 70 to 100 million this year? Well, I don't know if that's possible. Probably not. Our team is a lot younger now. We don't want to fall into the same trap we've been falling into with the salary cap all the time. But come on, we've got to clear 50, 60 million. I'm sure we can do that. And if we clear 60 million and we're cap compliant after 10, that gives us about 50 million to go and play with in free agency. So I think the Saints are going to be big players in free agency. I think we should spend money. I think we should throw some money at guard and see what sticks. I think that we should consider the window open right now. And everybody says, well, you don't want to go all in. No, you don't want to make mistakes. But if the window's open, what you going to do? Hang your foot out? Come on, go all in. This is the chance. Think about the players under contract right now that are our starters that would typically cost a ton of money. And I can give you 5 of them. Tyler Shuck, Kelvin Banks, Taliesin Fuanga, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Chase Young. Now, Chase Young is on a really cheap contract. If he plays like he did last year in this defense for the rest of his contract, then yeah, he's probably severely underpaid. So I'm going to consider Chase Young's contract as part of this open window right now. The Tyler Shuck contract, come on, if he keeps playing well, how much are we going to be paying him when his rookie contract's over? I mean, 4 years from now, the average salary for a quarterback might end up being 50, 60 million. If he's playing really well, he might demand more than that. $70 million. He's only making a couple of million right now. The window is open. Left tackle, right tackle. If you have two really good starters and you have to pay them market value in a couple of years, yeah, I'm thinking Taliesin Fuanga's a $20 million a year guy. Thanks. A couple of years after that, it's probably going to be getting 30 million. I mean, that's just if they're regular old starting offensive tackles. The way the salaries are right now, it's insane. So we have a big window open. When Kool-Aid McKinstry's contract is up and he wants to get paid like a starting cornerback, even if he is a middle of the road starting cornerback, he's going to be making 15 to 20 million a year. So yeah, that's five players on our team that are underpaid right now. That window is open. I say you go through it. I say you go and sign and try to build a team right now. You go get players that you think are going to be a part of this team for the next 3 to 5 years. And if you're going to get an older player, maybe you only give them a 1 year contract. Maybe you budget out these stop gaps and see what happens. And you don't want to be completely broke 4 or 5 years from now because you're going to be spending $100+ million on these five guys that you're not spending that money on now. So open the window. It's open. Tyler Shuck's your guy. Go through that damn thing. Let's see how close to the Super Bowl we can get before we start paying these young guys a ton of money. So first, I'm going to start with whatever moves the Saints have to make to get cap compliant and to give them money in free agency. So I don't know what kind of restructures would have to happen. I'm not sure what extensions would have to happen. But Kai Harley's the genius, and he manages to clear 100 million every year. I'm asking him to clear about 60 million this year, and I want to go in the free agency with about 50 million to play with. So that's my goal, and I'm going to assume that's where the Saints are at. What's the first thing we're going to do? Let's look at the extensions that I really want to happen, besides the little ones that make us cap compliant. Here's the extensions I'm looking at. Of course, wide receiver Chris Olave is the first guy. I want to extend him. I want to make sure he gets a big contract. We're going to keep him in, probably pay him 30 to 33 million, something like that, upwards to 35. I'm going to say 33. Get him on a long-term deal. I want to extend Jawan Johnson too. He's on a really good contract right now. And yeah, I think the production he had last year justifies the contract. If you could add a couple more years and keep paying him at the same rate the contract is, I wouldn't mind doing something like that. I wouldn't mind looking at extending Chase Young. I mean, if there's a way, he missed 5 games last year. So if there's a way to add 2 more years to his contract and not have to pay him 25 to 30 million, we're paying him 17 million right now. Maybe you extend him 2 more years, pay him 20 million, something like that for each of those 2 years. Try to take advantage of the fact that he didn't play a whole season under this system yet, because it looks like if he stays healthy, he's going to be a 25, $35 million a year guy. That's the way I'm looking at it with Chase Young. So if you could get an extension with him, that would be great. And Isaiah Stallbird is a guy that, he's a undrafted guy, and this is probably his last year on his small contract, and If I could extend him and get him for a couple of more years on the cheap, he's a valuable player, super valuable. He's not a starter. He doesn't expect to be a starter. If we re-sign Demario Davis, then yeah, Isaiah Stallberg's going to be our third down guy. He's going to be a special teams guy. Our special teams were bad this year, but we had a couple of standouts, Danny Stutzman and Isaiah Stallberg. So I say get ahead of this. Let's pay Isaiah Stallberg now. Pay him 2.5 million, 2 million a year for the next 3 years. Add some years. Let's extend him too. There's lots of extensions we could do. Chris Olave is the main one. Now, before we get into free agency, I want to look at our current roster so we can get a real good idea of what it is we need to do. I showed you some extensions. I wanted to show you my roster first. Let's pull up the Saints offense before these extensions I just made. Let's pull up the offense and see what happens. All right, quarterback Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler. That's it. We need one more, maybe. We would love to have a guy on the practice squad. We don't have a quarterback on the practice squad right now, so yeah. I heard Ross Jackson do a video yesterday about three positions the Saints do not need to address, and he was talking about safety and offensive tackle and quarterback. And I understand we have our starting quarterback, we have our starting offensive tackles, and we have a bunch of really good safeties. Don't say they're not needs, because they're needs. If we carry three quarterbacks, obviously we need another quarterback. We only have two. You have to have a guy on the practice squad. There's no one on the practice squad now. So don't tell me quarterback isn't a need. Quarterback's a need. You can just fill that need in different ways, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. I get his point, but let's take a look at this roster and see what we actually really need. At running back, we have Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, Devin Neal, Audric Estime, Evan Hull. I look at this room, and if everybody's healthy this year, it's not a bad room. But when you think about the future, your top two guys here, Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller, probably aren't on this team. So within a year or two, this room gets thin quick. I gotta imagine Kamara and Miller are not part of the future here. So you're good now, and you keep that in mind. But Kamara and Miller, they're not going to be here in the future. So yeah, running back's pretty important to me. Wide receiver, we have Chris Olave, Devon Vele, Jalen Polk, Trey Palmer, Kevin Austin, Mason Tipton, Ronnie Bell, Samori Torre, Bub Means, and we have Alford and Cooks, the new additions from the CFL, XFL, whatever. That's not a bad room. We could put a stud in this room. We could put a veteran in this room. We need a guy that can get yards after catch. We could use some more size. So, wide receiver's not awful. That's the state of the room right now. Everyone's expecting us to get another wide receiver, probably in the draft. At tight end, we've got Juwan Johnson, Maliki Mataval, Mason Pline, Mitchell Payton, and Trayton Welch. Not a lot of starting caliber guys there. Juwan Johnson, and after that, I don't know what to say. Welch is a receiver. Mataval's a seventh round guy, hasn't shown anything. Pline and Mitchell Payton are blockers. Mitchell Payton is probably going to be that new Jack Stoll for us. So, but Mataval feels like a practice squad guy to me. I look at the tight end room and I think we could address it a couple of times. Yeah, you got your starter in Johnson as a receiver, but I want a complete guy in here. I also want a run blocker. Mitchell Payton's a run blocker. Monteval wants to be that complete guy. It's just a weak room. And the offensive line, oh dear. Left tackle Kelvin Banks. Left guard Torricelli Simpkins. Center, Eric McCoy. Right guard, Cesar Ruiz. Right tackle, Taliesin Fuanga. Who's going to play left guard? Nick Saldivari, Torricelli Simpkins? No. You got Will Sherman, who can play tackle and guard. Right now, he'd probably be your starting left guard. And yeah, we have no backup center and our backup tackles. Awesome Richards, Barry Wesley, Easton Kilty, Xavier Truss. Xavier Truss can play guard too. Yeah, the line yop in Ross's video was that you didn't have to address center either if you re-signed Fortner. Okay, yeah, right now we don't have a backup center, so obviously you have to address center. I think you have to address backup offensive tackle. You have your starters, but come on. If you lose either one of those guys for a half a year, I'm not excited about Awesome Richards or Will Sherman playing as a starter for that half a year. So you look at the offense in total. Yeah, you need a third quarterback. You want some youth at the running back room. You could want an eventual replacement for Kamara. Wide receiver room is lacking pieces like a run after catch guy. And we could also use a bona fide number one because Vele is a seventh round pick that we got for a fourth round pick. And we don't know what we have in Polk and Palmer right now. So tight end is just weak. After Johnson, we need some bodies there big time. And the offensive lines, of course. Starting left guard, yes. Starting right guard, yes. I'm done with Cesar Ruiz. I'm ready to move on from him. I want a starter at left guard and right guard. And I want depth at guard because I'm not happy with the depth. And I also need depth at center. And I really want better body at backup tackle. So offensive line is still a cluster to me. It's the biggest thing that has to be addressed in this offseason. Those interior offensive guards. Yeah, that's your starting offense right now. Let's look at the defense and see where we are lacking. Oh, yeah, our front line, Brian Brissy, Davin Gottschall, Nathan Shepard, same guys we went into battle with last year. Those are our starters this year. Same backups, Christian Boyd. Ridgeway's not on the team anymore. We've got Vernon Broughton, who we hope is going to be a player that makes a difference and makes this front better. Because I'm not pleased with this front as it stands. You also have the backup in Izzard at defensive end. Yeah, we could use defensive tackle because Gottschall is going to retire soon. We need a playmaker there. Christian Boyd's got to prove a lot to be that guy. I don't think he is. Big defensive nose tackle is important for me, and I need better players on the end. If Vernon Broughton turns into something, great. Nathan Shepard had his best year as a Saint last year in this defense. So maybe Shepard and Broughton and Brissy can make it all right, but I know we can improve on this defensive line. At the linebacker position, the outside linebackers are our edge rushers. You've got Chase Young and Carl Grandison, and then you got Fadil Diggs, and you got Cole, and that's it. We're missing Jordan. We're missing Rumpf. Everybody wants to get an edge rusher. We need a number three. If we re-sign Cam Jordan, we could still use a replacement for Jordan. So edge rusher is important. Inside linebacker, well, without Demario Davis there, it looks weird. Danny Stutzman, Pete Werner are your starters. Isaiah Stallbird, Jalen Ford is your backups. Yeah, I kind of want to pursue Davis in a big way. You look at the secondary, you've got Kool-Aid McKinstry and Quincy Riley as your starting corners. Your immediate backups are Isaac Yadam and Rajon Wright. You've also got Jaden Price, Dallas Beenham, Beanie Bishop. At safety, you've got Jonas Senker and Justin Reed, Julian Blackman, and Jordan Howden. You've also got Elliot Davison. Safety room's pretty good. Cornerback room, I feel like could use some depth. And if you don't re-sign Alontae Taylor, you're going to need a nickel too. And that's the situation we have with the offense and the defense. Pretty barren. So let's make some moves. Let's re-sign some of these players for the Saints, and then let's hit free agency. Who do I want to resign? Well, let's pull the list up. We're going to start with linebacker Demario Davis, probably the one of the most severely underpaid professional football players of all time. He's been a Pro Bowl type guy his whole career, and he's never made a lot of money per year with the Saints. I think they're saying he wants $7 to $8 million. The guy's worth 15 million. What he did last year's worth 15 million. So I don't know how much you got to pay Demario Davis. If you got to pay him 12, whatever it takes to keep him home, you go after Davis big time. Defensive end Cameron Jordan, edge rusher Cameron Jordan. I'm re-signing him too. It's probably only going to be 6-7 million. Instead of giving him an incentive laden contract, you just give it to him all up front. I kind of liked how he played above what we expected last year with those incentives in mind. I don't question Jordan's integrity or character, but I do know the facts were he had to hit certain goals to make a certain money, and he hit those goals, and it was a big surprise. So maybe some of it can be incentive laden, but most of it not. Let's just get Jordan back in the room. Davis and Jordan as leaders in this team, on this team, for this team is very valuable, as well as the play that we get from them on the field. So it worked out good in this defense last year. Let's resign these guys. My next guy I want to resign, Luke Fortner. I want him to be my backup. I expect McCoy to miss time. He always does. And Fortner showed he could be okay as a starting center. Is he a great starter? No, I don't think so. Will other teams consider Fortner as a potential starter for them? He showed enough last year where if you have issues at center, maybe you're willing to throw some money at Fortner. I've seen some projections that say Fortner's going to demand $8 million a year. I don't want to pay him $8 million a year to be my backup center. That's not happening. I think the production we got from Fortner last year is worth about $4 million, $5 million tops. And that's if I would need him to start. I don't need him to start. So Fortner's got a decision to make. If some team's willing to pay him more than $5 million a year to be a bona fide starter, good luck to them. I think he's an average starter at best. It wasn't a cluster mess, but it wasn't worth $8 million a year for me. So my issue with re-signing Fortner is he may price himself out. So for this experiment that I'm doing, we're going to re-sign Luke Fortner to no more than $4 million a year, $5 million tops. And we're going to say that happens. But I'm going to put an asterisk next to his name because there's a chance he prices himself out of here. I'm not paying more than $5 million for a backup center. It's not happening. I'll beg Will Clapp to come back or something. I'll draft a guy and hope he does it. I'll put Torricelli Simpkins or Cesar Ruiz there and make it happen before I pay Luke Fortner $8 million a year. Now that's where I'm at. Next on the re-signing, I want to get Dylan Redunds back on the team. He got a little better as he played as a starter. Okay, overall, it wasn't good enough. We definitely need to improve from Trevor Penning. I think Redunds was a slight improvement from Trevor Penning, but we're going nowhere if Dylan Redunds is our starter. So how do you re-sign a guy who started for you for half a year and say, yeah, we want you on this team. You're a valuable part of our team, but we're obviously going to go and get somebody to start ahead of you. We're obviously going to do that. We're probably going to sign big money guy in free agency and draft somebody. We could do all of that. So how do you get Dylan Redunds to come back here and get paid next to nothing to be a set backup? No, we don't want you to start, dude, but we want you to come back. It's tough. But I'm hoping we can re-sign Dylan Reduns. I'm hoping he's only going to cost 2.5 million, 3 million, 4 million, whatever. Something cheap. And yeah, as a backup. Now I've got Dylan Reduns written here. I just need a backup guard, a Lucas Patrick type, a Shane Lemieux type, a Dylan Reduns type, a guy who's a veteran who can start. It'd be nice to re-sign Reduns. I think he got a little better as the season went along. So by the end of the year, it wasn't as bad as it was to start. But we need better starters there. Who else are we re-signing? I want to resign. We didn't resign Alante Taylor. I'm not resigning him. The most I would pay him is 15 million. I think he's going to get more than that from another team. I really do. So I want to get Terrell Burgess or Ugo Amadi back on this team. They play nickel in this system. Amadi was our number two nickel. Terrell Burgess was our number three. I think Burgess being Staley's guy, I think if we had to choose between the two, it would be Burgess. But I'm saying or Amadi because Amadi was technically number two ahead of Burgess at the nickelback behind Taylor. So maybe Staley wants this re-signing at safety to be a nickel guy. And if he feels Amadi's better at the nickel than Burgess, then Amadi could be the guy. I'm going to go ahead and say Terrell Burgess because that's Staley's guy from this system from other teams as well. And Burgess got a lot of play at safety, and he can play that nickel. So next, I want to re-sign one of our defensive ends, either Jonathan Bullard or Jonah Williams. Now, I think overall, Williams would be the better guy to get because he's 6 years younger. Jonah Williams is 27. Jonathan Bullard's like 33. Bullard played really good, and we would want him to be a rotational guy. We would need a guy good against the run. Bullard fits that mold. He's 33, but we could get him for $3 million, and he'd play the same role he did last year, and he did that well. So I'm good with getting Bullard. I would like to get Jonah Williams because he's 6 years younger. Williams also has a little more when it comes to the pass rush, and Williams is pretty good against the run. But Williams, by some sites, is going to cost twice as much as Bullard. So they have some sites saying Williams is going to make 6, 7 million. Bullard's going to make three. So I'm going to go ahead and say we sign one or the other. If we can get Jonah Williams for 3 or 4 million, that's the guy. I'm going to go ahead and say Jonathan Bullard because that's the more affordable option. But one of those guys. All right, re-signing a tight end. I would like to do that as well. Jack Stoll is an option, but we have Mitchell Payton as a run blocker. So I'm leaning more towards Foster Moreau. Foster Moreau is not the backup tight end of choice for me to go into the season with. I like Morrow as a guy, and he's better than everyone in the room right now. He hasn't shown it in this offense yet, post injury. I'm assuming Morrow still has a year or two left in him, and I'm assuming he'll get better and better as he gets acclimated to this offense and he gets better from recovering from his injuries. So maybe Morrow can give you some classic Morrow as a number two all around tight end. Chances are he won't. Chances are we re-sign Morrow. He's an improvement over what's in the room now after Johnson, but he's still not where we need to go at tight end. But he's very valuable in the room. He'd be a great leader. He's a player's coach kind of guy. And if we can get him for $2 or $3 million, even if he ends up our number four guy, there's value with Morrow on this team in that room. So I'm re-signing Morrow, but this isn't an answer at tight end. We still have work to do at tight end. I want to resign edge rusher Chris Rump. I don't think other teams are going to be clamoring for him. Rump probably wants to play in the Staley system. He was very effective as a rotational piece last year for this team. Okay, so he was number 4, but he managed to get a few sacks. He managed to make a few plays. That the size of Rump is what this team needs, a linebacker size. We would like to go get an edge rusher that's going to be really good against rushing the passer and an improvement on Rump. So that's kind of a goal. But I say re-sign Rump and have your edge rushers intact from last year. Chase Young, Carl Granderson, Cam Jordan, Chris Rump. You have those guys, they stayed healthy last year once Young came back. And you have those guys again. You get the same sack production. That would be good. It's a start. And I'm also going to re-sign defensive tackle Jonathan Ridgeway. He's probably only going to cost $1 million. He played all along the defensive line. He got a lot of play toward the end of the year last year when we weren't playing Davin Gauchaw as much. So there you go. That's the total list of players that I want to re-sign for the Saints. And I'm going to put an asterisk next to Luke Fortner. He may price himself out of here. But if we re-sign these guys, you got us a backup guard, you got us a nickelback, but you really want to improve there. You got an all-around tight end, but you want to improve there. You've got the different body type at edge rusher with Rump, but you want to improve there. Even if Luke Fortner's on this team, he's not my future starter past McCoy, so I think you could still improve on Fortner personally at center. And you got your starter in Demario Davis and Cam Jordan as a main rotational piece, but they're both older players. You're going to have to replace them eventually anyway. So, keeping all that in mind with the re-signings, let's go into free agency. Now, once we tackle free agency, I'm going to pull the roster up again and I'm going to show you what the roster looks like post re-signings and post free agency. And we're going to compare the two, what we started with and what we have after free agency. And we'll do all that before the draft. And we'll have a draft to finish out this video. So, after the resignings, who are we hitting in free agency? Well, number one, first and foremost, offensive guard David Edwards out of Buffalo. I see his expected salary fluctuate anywhere from 7 to 10 million to 20 million. Yeah, he's a great starting guard. He's really good. I watched Buffalo. I watched their guard play. I want to see what Osiris Torrance does because uh, I liked him coming out of the draft. And yep, there he is starting at left guard for Buffalo. And I always noticed Edwards at left guard because he's always so good. I'm willing to pay big bucks to get David Edwards on this team. Outbid everybody. If somebody's giving him 20, give him 21. If they're giving him 22, give him 23. If they're giving him 23, give him 25. Get David Edwards on this team. And I'm not done at guard in free agency with David Edwards. I'm going to get another starting guard, and that's my second signing in free agency. I want a guy who could be anywhere from 8 million to 14 million a year. But one of these guys wouldn't be so bad. I've listed here either David Parham out of the Raiders, Ed Ingram out of the Texans, or Avira Tucker out of the Jets. A guy like either one of those guys who's a starter, they could be one of the best starters at guard. They could be an average starter. Cesar Ruiz is a bottom of the barrel starting guard. You get either one of these guys as your starter at right guard, they're going to be better than Ruiz. Now, maybe they're learning the system and Ruiz might get the start ahead of him. I don't think so. I think we're done with Ruiz. I think the soon as we can move off of Ruiz, the better. So I mentioned 3 guys here, but you can put in whoever you want as that second guard. I'm saying David Edwards, starting left guard, make it happen. And then I want a starting right guard too. You can go with Elijah Vera Tucker out of the New York Jets, who's the best player here, but he's been injured every year he's played. Vera Tucker when healthy. At right guard, David Edwards at left guard. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to be competitive. But I worry about the injuries, so you could go with Ed Ingram instead, former LSU player. Of course, he had that off the field incident and had to miss some time, but the Texans kept him. And maybe Ingram wants to come back and play for the state that he went to school in. Or you can go with a guy like David Parham. He's probably the least best out of the three, but he's the one with the fewest question marks. No injury concerns, no off field issues. And David Parham could come in here, start at right guard, ahead of Cesar Ruiz, and be at least as effective or maybe better. So I say David Edwards, first guard, and then a second guard. That's going to be a starter at right guard. It could be anybody. I don't care. Like I said, an average guard would start ahead of Cesar Ruiz. So I'm going to say David Parham. Nothing out of the Raiders or the Jets is ever really that good, but I'm going to say David Parham or Ed Ingram or Vera Tucker. Vera Tucker would be the better player, but the injuries worry me. You guys are probably leaning towards Ingram, former LSU. So either Parham or Ingram, something like that. Next big free agent signing I'm going after. I'm going after a tight end. I'm going after Dallas Goddard out of Philadelphia. Yeah, I'm going to spend money on him, and he's old, but I'm doing it because, in my opinion, every player on the Eagles' offense this past season missed Kellen Moore. I'm I'm certain of it. Every single player, from Saquon Barkley to Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goddard, A.J. Brown, all of them missed Kellen Moore. And how many of them would like to play with him again? I'm going to say Dallas Goddard would like to play with Kellen Moore again. Come in here and be our number one tight end next to Juwan Johnson. Paying Johnson $10 million a year, we're going to be paying Goddard more than that. And we're going to be able to play two tight end sets, which might be something Kellen Moore really wants to do. I know that Goddard is good on the line of scrimmage, getting out into his routes. For as old as he is, he's a solid all around guy. He showed production with Kellen Moore 2 years ago. He's still a productive player now. Bring him in. He's better than Foster Moreau by far. I say you bring him in. You improve this tight end room. I would still like to get a guy in the draft. Now, if you can't afford Goddard and you want to go with somebody a little cheaper, bring the body in at tight end. Bring him in. I'll take him. Isaiah Likely, Njoku, Dulcich, Fant, Higby. I'll take any of those guys. Ian Thomas. I'll take any tight end that can come in here and improve this room. I just don't like the room. Even re-signing uh, Foster Moreau is doesn't give me a warm feeling. I need a run blocker. I need a complete tight end. I need a run blocker. Yeah, Mitchell Payton. We'll see. Give me Dallas Goddard. I'll be happy. Next, what do I want to focus on? Yeah, we don't have Alante Taylor anymore, so I need us a nickel. I re-signed Terrell Burgess. He's a special teamer, a safety, and a backup nickel. I need a starting nickel, please. And because Taylor played on the outside, you might want to focus on outside corner too. Quincy Riley's a good player. And after him, it's Isaac Yadam and Rajon Wright. So I want to hit cornerback. Now, instead of paying Alante Taylor $15 million, I'm thinking you can go get two really good veteran cornerbacks for the same amount of money. I know you can. So no, we say no to Taylor. Let somebody else pay him $17 million. Let's go spend $15 million on two different players. The players I have in mind: cornerback D. Alford from the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Alford's a great nickel, and in free agency, that's the nickel of choice for me. Staley probably has an idea of what would be really good as a star in this defense. If Alford is that guy, Staley can say, yeah, Alford could do it and pick him. But Staley may have other guys in mind, guys he's coached before that I don't even know about. He could he could think, oh yeah, he could go and get a guy in free agency, put him at star, and be like, yep, that's what I've wanted all this time, and it would blow us all away. I don't know. But for right now, for this experiment, I'm going to say go get the best nickel in D. Alford and let him be your star. Let's pretend Alford is a star. And if it's not Alford, it's somebody else. Alford or other. But I'm going to get that starter at nickel. Yeah, you can draft Caleb Downs, you could draft Keontae Scott and have your starter at star, but yeah, I don't think you want to mess around. You got Burgess now. You go and get D. Alford. It's still an option in the draft, but I feel much better about this defense if I take care of that. And I also want to get a veteran cornerback that can be another starter. Yeah, Isaac Yiadom is a starter, can be, and Quincy Riley is our starter. But I'd like to go get a veteran. Now, whether that's somebody that Staley's coached before, or whether that's just anybody else that's in free agency right now, I'm going to use Tariq Woolen as a placeholder here for the veteran cornerback starter. Somebody that I think you can get for relatively cheap, not terribly expensive. Now, I don't know how much Tariq Woolen is going to make. I'm gonna I'm gonna look that up real quick. Hold on one sec. Okay, yeah, he's Woolen's expected to sign a lucrative contract between 22 million and 30 million, so not a good example. I'm going to use as an example Asante Samuel Jr. This is a guy who played for Staley before, and even though he's still relatively young, 26, 27, something like that, um, we're going to be able to get him for under 10 million for sure. Cheap. It's not going to be cheap, but instead of paying Alante Taylor 15 to 17 million, we're going to get D. Alford and Asante Samuel Jr. And I think you do a move like that in free agency, and yeah, you've got your bases covered. You've got Alante's position covered by two people at this point. You can put Alford at nickel. You can put a Samuel on the outside. You can put Samuel at nickel. You can flex. You can do all kinds of stuff. So that's the kind of move I would like to see the Saints make. Two cornerbacks. Let's address this thing. Let's not miss Taylor, and let's not pay all that money for one guy. Let's get two guys for the money and cover our bases. The next guy I'm thinking about getting in free agency is a running back. Now we can go big money and go Brees Hall or Walker and spend the 15 million a year and feel like you've got your starter of the future, or you can go a little lower. You can maybe bring somebody over from a divisional rival. There's a couple to choose from. You've got Rashad White from Tampa Bay. You've got Sean Tucker from Tampa Bay. You've got Tyler Algier from Atlanta. And you've also got Rico Dowdle from Carolina. And if you're going to spend 7, 8, 9 million on a running back, then I would suggest Travis Etienne. You can also go with Brian Robinson, something like that. I mean, you can get whatever free agent running back. So if you want to get a lower cost guy who can come in and be a piece, Sean Tucker would be great. If you want to spend between $5 and $10 million and go get Rico, I'm going to say go ahead and get Travis Etienne. Go ahead and spend the money. Sign him to a 4-year deal. He's going to be here with Kamara to start with. Kamara's going to be gone in here too. Etienne and Devin Neal can be our starters after that with a little dose of Audric Estime. So I think this would be a good move for the Saints. Whether you, like I say, you want to go Sean Tucker and then try to get another one in the draft, or you try to get a guy that's going to be the eventual replacement. I think that Kellen Moore's got his idea for what he wants as a running back. And let's just say it's Travis Etienne, and this is the way I'm going. Bring the homeboy home and let's get us a future starter at running back. We've got money to play with in free agency. And that's something I would do. I wouldn't go the top notch Hall or Walker, but yeah, Etienne or Dowdell, something like that. Sure, I can do it. I want to get Etienne. Bring him in here. Let's see how that looks. The last guy I'm going to address in free agency is that backup quarterback. I want a free agent, cheap veteran that can come in and be the veteran for Shuck, but that can also function in this offense. Somebody that's worked with Kellen Moore before. I got my sights on quarterback Sam Howell. He's with the Eagles, was with the Eagles when Kellen Moore was there, and I think Sam Howell is an above average player. I tend to look at Kellen Moore as one of those special quarterback guru coaches, kind of like a Shanahan or Sean Payton. I put Kellen Moore in that tier. You get a guy that's good, he comes into your system, he looks a hell of a lot better. So I'm going to say Sam Howell is the cheap quarterback veteran that we signed, and Howell may be effective enough in a Kellen Moore system where you can debate on trading Spencer Rattler. So those are the free agency moves that I'm making for this offseason. So let's pull up the offense and the defense now and see what we're working with once these free agents are added. Let's look at the offense. Offense before and now the offense after. Yep, we got us a third quarterback now, and Sam Howell. Maybe Rattler can be traded. I've got the asterisk next to Kendre Miller because we've got Travis Etienne now. Alvin Kamara and Travis Etienne are going to be our 1-2 punch. Kendre Miller is on his way out, is the way I'm looking at it. Hold on. So yeah, now Kamara and Etienne, but I assume Kamara will be gone in a year or two, and then it'll be the Etienne and Devin Neal show, and I expect Kendre Miller to be gone. We did not make a move at wide receiver. We brought in Dallas Goddard and Foster Moreau at the tight end position, and I'm feeling much better about that room now. Dallas Goddard is your starter. Jawan Johnson as your main receiving tight end. That's your dual tight end there. Foster Morrow's there to pick up the slack if something happens. And the offensive line, big time change, and we needed it. Now we've got David Edwards starting at left guard. We've got David Parham starting at right guard, or Ed Ingram, or whoever you want to put there. And that makes me feel a hell of a lot better. Cesar Ruiz has this asterisk next to his name now because, yeah, he could be on the move. And we also re-signed Dylan Reduns. That makes Cesar Ruiz completely expendable. So David Edwards, David Parham as your new starters. Dylan Reduns as a backup. You still got Sherman. You still got Simpkins. You still got Truss. So you're good at guard now. At center, I've got that asterisk next to Luke Fortner's name because he might price himself out. There's a chance he's not here. There's a chance we go into the draft needing a backup center. But other than that, we've done pretty good. We still haven't addressed offensive tackle or wide receiver. All right, let's pull up the defense now. First, we're going to look at the original defense before free agency. And now let's fade in our new defense. Got a couple of new pieces on the defensive line, some re-signings. Jonathan Bullard, John Ridgeway. I still feel like we need a piece or two. I would really like to trade down in the draft and pick up extra picks and go real hard at defensive line. I don't know if that's a possibility or not. We re-signed Cam Jordan and Chris Rumpf for our outside linebacker position. And we re-signed Demario Davis at inside linebacker. And man, that makes me feel better. This is basically the same defense we had last year at linebacker. And I'm pretty good. Still could make some moves, but bringing back Davis, bringing back Jordan and Rumpf, I'm feeling good about the room. It's the same as last year. We were successful last year, but it's still not off the charts as far as what we could address in the draft. And then our DB room, bringing back Terrell Burgess to be that backup nickel. It also helps with depth at safety. And then we signed D. Alford and Asante Samuel Jr. You can start Quincy Riley or Asante Samuel. It's up to you. I think Samuel would probably start ahead of Riley. And Samuel could play that nickel and Riley could start. D. Alford's going to play that nickel. And we're good at cornerback now. We lost Taylor, but we've replaced him. So we don't have to go hard for a nickelback or an outside starting cornerback in the draft. We've got our bases covered. And we look good at safety. So the team is much improved now after free agency, and this kind of limits our strongest positions of need. Taking a look at the offense here, I'm going to pull up the positions of need going into this draft. Now that we've addressed everything on offense that we have addressed, the main concerns going into the draft, in my opinion, would be wide receiver and offensive tackle. Believe it or not, I would like to get a backup offensive tackle. And a backup center is something I want to get if we don't have Fortner here. Running back's not out of the question because you do feel like Kendre Miller's going to be gone and Kamara's going to be gone soon too. Oh. And then tight end is something I'm not going to shy away from because Goddard's only going to be a couple of years stopgap here. Foster Morrow's not going to be here long. So you got Juwan Johnson and Goddard right now. You're looking good for this year. But bringing in another younger guy wouldn't hurt. But on offense, my main focus is going to be wide receiver. And I kind of planned it out this way with free agency. The deepest positions in the draft are wide receiver and edge rusher, in my opinion. So I didn't address it with a lot of money in free agency. That's my offensive needs, and now we're going to pull up the defense and talk about our defensive needs. Yeah, we need to hit that defensive line. We didn't really do much damage with defensive tackle, defensive end. We're hoping Broughton turns into something. And we got Bullard back and we got Ridgeway back. But if we can get a big time player on the defensive line, that would be something. And of course, I left the gap at edge rusher. We get Cam Jordan back, but yeah, he's a 1 year guy. And then Chris Rump, we have our bases covered, but we're trying to improve in that area. So edge rusher and defensive line would be the main things on defense for the draft after this free agency. And you're also looking for youth at linebacker, of course, with DeMario being an older guy. And then cornerback. Yeah, I addressed it hard in free agency, but you can never have too many cornerbacks. So I'm going to keep this list of positions of need for the draft after free agency. And now I'm going to pull up what my 8-man draft ended up looking like. I did the draft with all of these parameters in mind, and this is what happened. With the first round pick, pick 8 overall, I drafted wide receiver Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. With our second round pick 42, I went with defensive tackle Lee Hunter. And if he's there at 42, you have to take him. I don't think he's going to be there in reality. But he was there for this time, and we needed it, and that's what I wanted to get, and that's what I got. In round 3, pick 73 overall, I went with edge rusher Derek Moore out of Michigan. He's going to be the stand-up edge rusher that we're looking for. And yeah, edge rusher, wide receiver. I went ahead and addressed it with defensive line. That's what we needed the most after the free agency, and that's what I got us. In the fourth round, oh man, I was hoping for some more depth on the defensive line. I ended up getting Sam Heck, the center out of Kansas State. He's a smaller guy, but he's really good. Showed up at the Senior Bowl, and this is going to be a guy that's going to be our backup center. He's going to be the eventual replacement of Eric McCoy is my goal. I think he's good enough to take in the fourth round and to expect that. So whether we have Luke Fortner or not, with that asterisk, I'm drafting Sam Heck. We got us a backup center. In my second, fourth round pick, I went with Nick Singleton, the running back out of Penn State. He was available. I think the value is too good to pass up. Yeah, we got a log jam at running back now, but I tell you what, Kendre Miller and Alvin Kamara can see the door. We've got Travis Etienne, and now we've got Nick Singleton. In the fifth round, we got two picks. With the first one, pick 148, I took tight end Dolan Bentley out of Utah. Big guy, productive in college this year, 600 yards, six touchdowns. He's a good run blocker. He's an all-around tight end. He's way better than Maliki Mataval, and I really like this. Get Bentley in the room, fifth round draft pick. He's going to make the team, okay, and then he's going to learn from Goddard and Juwan Johnson. And in a couple of years, when Goddard is gone, Bentley will still be on that rookie deal, and maybe he'll be ready to be our number two with Johnson at that point. With the second fifth round pick, I got offensive tackle J.C. Davis out of Illinois. Some people see him kicking in the guard. I see him competing with Awesome Richards and Easton Kilty and Barry Wesley and Will Sherman and whoever else we have as backup tackle. I'm happy to get a backup tackle. I think it's important for this team. And with our last pick, the sixth round pick, pick 190, I grabbed linebacker Red Murdoch out of Buffalo. He's a little on the light side. Don't worry about him as a solid overall tackler, but he's a playmaker. I'm excited about it. That's our draft, our 8-player draft. And after this draft, we're going to add those players into the final roster. And now this is the end of the video. Let's look at our offense heading into 2026 season. Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell at quarterback. At running back, you got Alvin Kamara, Travis Etienne, Nick Singleton, Devin Neal, Audric Estime. I think Kendre Miller's gone. Evan Hull's on the practice squad. And who's going to stay as the fourth running back? Is Audric Estime going to prove his worth? Are we going to draft Singleton and then put him on the practice squad? Are we going to put Estime on the practice squad where he's lived most of his life and hope we can keep him? I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I like that. Etienne, Singleton, and Neal look like the running backs of the future. At wide receiver, we get Jordan Tyson to go with Chris Olave, and that is pretty sweet. Devon Vele, Jalen Polk, and Trey Palmer wrap us up at wide receiver. One big player in Tyson and makes that room look so much better. At tight end, oh yeah, Dallas Goedert, Juwan Johnson, Dolan Bentley, Foster Moreau, and whoever else wants to stick around on the practice squad. Mitchell Payton, Maliki Mataval, Trayton Welch. Y'all can all go to the practice squad. We got a starter now in Dallas Goedert to go with Juwan Johnson. We got Dolan Bentley that we're going to groom. And Foster Moreau's a good guy to groom him. And then the offensive line, the biggest change. We went ahead and added Sam Hecht at center, and we also added J.C. Davis at tackle. And it's a big improvement, this offensive line, with David Edwards and David Parham and Dylan Redunds as a backup. Yeah, we're going to make something happen. We're going to be a much better offense with this crew. All right, let's look at the defense to finish out the video. All of the moves, including the draft. What do we have? We got Lee Hunter, who's going to play defensive end on early downs, and it's going to play defensive tackle when needed. Hunter's going to play all over the place. If Hunter ends up being our starting nose tackle, I'm fine with it. If Hunter ends up being your first and second down defensive end ahead of Brzee, I'm fine with it. maybe eventually your starting three up here is going to be Vernon Broughton, Brian Brissy, and Lee Hunter. But Brian Brissy is going to have to show something this year. I'm not re-signing Brian Brissy unless I know I got an every down starter. He's going to have to bring at least the pass rush, or I won't even consider re-signing Brissy. But I like getting Hunter in the mix. We still need pieces, and that's going to be a main focus in next year's draft. If this is how the defensive line starts off this year, we're going to be focusing on defensive line in the next draft. At linebacker, oh yeah, we get Red Murdoch to be a backup. Maybe he'll end up on the practice squad. And then we got Moore, Derek Moore, who I feel like is going to end up taking Fadil Diggs' place, and he'll probably end up on the active roster ahead of Chris Rump if he shows enough. Moore is your eventual replacement for Cam Jordan, and hopefully Moore can see the field ahead of Rump. But I like getting that young linebacker sized edge rusher in Moore. It's a piece we don't have. It's an improvement from Diggs and Rump, hopefully, eventual replacement for Jordan. And then we didn't do anything in free agency for the secondary, but I think we're looking pretty good there. And that would be our defense heading in this year. So there you go. I don't know. You tell me. It's one of many of a potential perfect offseason for the Saints. I mean, it's not perfect. Perfect would be drafting my number one guy, which is Jeremiah Love. So I just wanted to show you my train of thought here. I wanted to show you moves that could be made, re-signings, signings in free agency, and then a draft. And that's what the team ended up looking like. So you let me know if you like it. Let me know what you would do differently. Let me know what you would address in free agency instead of the draft. What would you address in the draft instead of free agency? I like the idea of filling positional needs in the draft with positions that are abundant. So you got a lot of receivers and a lot of edge rushers in the draft. Let's not make it too complicated. Don't go get free agent wide receivers and edge rushers when you know you're probably going to end up drafting one. There's too many good ones there. Eventually, someone's going to fall. It's going to be, best player available, perfect value. So, yeah, let's use the draft for what it is. There's some depth at running back, there's some depth at safety. So, you could go those areas. I think there's depth at linebacker. I think there's a lot of depth at center. So, you let me know what you think. I'm Joe. Subscribe to my channel. We'll be doing a lot of this off-season stuff. Subscribe to my channel. We're going to be doing a mock draft soon and going through the whole thing. And yeah, when free agency starts, we're going to have the off-season and positional needs more focused in. And yeah, we're going to see what the Saints are going to do. I wouldn't be upset with an off-season like this. Let me know what you think. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?